Good morning, everybody. This is Becky at Beck's Creations, and I thought I would just come on real quick and explain French seams. And what the heck is a French seam? A French seam is one in which you encase the seam as you sew it. So it ends up, when it's finished, it looks like this. No raw edges. It's smooth. It's very good to use on a fabric that frays really bad or is just real slinky. It gives you a very finished edge. I'm pulling this. This is that special ruffle I've added to this dress that it's supposed to fray. And you're supposed to just clip these strings off until it gets kind of fuzzy looking. So that's what this is. All right, so French seam. Hi, Teresa. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to put wrong side to wrong side, which goes against normal sewing in your brain. If you've ever done clothing sewing, it's always right sides together, right? But with French seams, you always put wrong sides together first. You do a scant 1/4 inch seam and then you flip it and so it's right sides together and do your regular another 1/4 inch seam. So 1/4 and 1/4 is a half. You may want to, after you've done this initial pass, you may want to trim the first stitching or to the first stitching with like pinking shears or stuff. It's not necessary. But even if you trimmed it with your scissors just a little bit so that the unfinished edge, when you do your flip to right sides together, is slightly shorter than the next 1/4 inch so that the edge is within that seam allowance. Now, I'm going to be taking more than a 1/4 inch on this simply because I'm redesigning this dress. And I've cut the armhole slightly too big. So I'm going to do something that's different than the standard just because I want to take up a little bit of this armhole space. So I'm going to do a 1/2 inch and then trim it a little bit and then flip it and do a 1/2 inch. So I'm going to take 1 inch off the shoulder part of this. I hope that's not going to mess me up, but that's what I'm going to do. So yeah, it might bring it up too high. Let me get over there and see what I can do. I just want to basically show you guys. And because this is a redesign, I might be trimming a little bit off the opening because, yeah, I didn't get the strap width the same on both of them. But that's okay. I'm going to get it. So let me go stitch this. I love my rolly chair. So this is a view a lot of you don't get to see very often. And I can't move the computer all that easy. So I'll show you what I've done after I do it. So it's wrong sides together right now. And I'm going to stitch this. I don't know why my stomach's growling. I ate a piece of toast with cheese. I'm actually doing about a 3/8 inch seam instead of a 1/4 this time. And not quite a half, so I'm not going to take quite as much away. And I forgot to reverse at the front of that that seam, but I'm going to go with it. I'll grab my clips and bring them with me. I'll snip that. I'm just trimming the threads off. Okay. So this is wrong side to wrong side. And I've done about a 3/8 inch seam along here. And I should have reversed at both the starts and finishes of the seam. I did on this side, but on this side I forgot to reverse. So I'll just have to remember that when I'm manipulating it. I am going to trim a little bit off this. I'll use the pinking shears. I'm not going to cut through my stitching, of course. I'm just going to trim a little bit away from the seam right here. So I'm about 1/8 of an inch away from the stitching with the lowest part of the pinking. Because you can, yeah, you see the stitching and then you see where I've trimmed it. All right, let me do the other shoulder. This dress was the one that had the ribbon tie like a pillowcase dress. I didn't like the way it looked on me. So what I did is I took the altered, which I'm doing a video on the white dress you see in the background. I altered the neckline on that one because I don't like things touching my throat at all. I don't. So here's what I've trimmed away. So I took the top, my remade top of this one, and I made adjustments to the sleeves as well. And also I've made it all smaller. So it looks totally different now. But anyway, I took that top and I made a pattern. This is the front. And I tried to do more of a tank top style. And I made this part too deep. This should have come up maybe about here and then curved up. So I'm doing the French seam because that's what the instructions said, but I'm taking a little bit more than I normally would just to raise this up a little bit so the bottom of my opening isn't quite as wide open. If that still bothers me, I might add a sleeve, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll see when we get there. And then I did the back. And I can see when I'm hold these up, I didn't make the back as narrow as the front by a little bit, but I'll trim it away. All right, so we've sewn them wrong sides together. We did the trimming. Now I'm going to turn the dress right side out so we have right sides together. Maybe. All right, and then I'm going to, you should technically press this. Press, but I don't have the ironing board set up. So I'm going to pinch it with my fingers, and I'll go ahead and put my clips on. Just make sure that the seam is right at the top that you already made. Put it all the way up there, and I'll clip that in place. And what this does is it encases the raw edges inside, and that's a French seam. All right. And I'll go into more detail in my video on the white dress, which is not going to remain white. I'm going to dye that one. Now, the white dress and the pink dress were both made from old sheets that I bought at the Goodwill. So these will be probably mostly house dresses. I'm sure I would make people smile and laugh if I went out in public in them, but I think they're cute. And the blue dress that's hanging was made from some gauze that I bought from fabricmart.com. and it's real thin. So I will definitely, I wear shorts under dresses anyway because of chub rub for the lack of any other thing. So let me stitch this and then I'll show you. The only thing I'll have left to do is the armholes and the neck, and I'll do that with binding. I might have to make some binding, which there's all kinds of instructions on the internet on how to make your own binding, which I'll probably make it out of the pink like the ruffle is. I think I've got enough of that fabric that I can do some bias tape with it. Let's get this going here. All right, let's trim this. All right, so again, French seams are, you put wrong sides together and do a 1/4 inch seam, then trim a little bit off that and then flip it right sides together and then do your another 1/4 inch seam. That gives you a 1/2 inch seam total. And then when you're finished, it's all locked inside, see? No raw edges. This is a good seam to use on pillowcases so that they don't come and ravel because they get washed a lot. Pillowcases get washed more than you think, especially if you make the pillowcases for the kids that are dealing with cancer in the hospital. There is a program for that too. And I always do French seams on all of those pillowcases that I've made. I need to do some pillowcases again too. That was a good project to work on. So I'm going to flip this right side out now. There we go. And I'll press these before I start working with the bias. I'm going to do some bias tape for the armholes and the neck edge. And so that's what the French seams look like. I've used French seams on this whole thing, down this side and everything. So when I finish, this will be another little sundress. Stand back here so you can see. See? Ta-da! And I like this ruffle technique that she uses, where you zigzag around, and I'm going to wash it and it'll do more of this. And I'll just trim the loose strings off and it'll be a ruffly, fluffy is a new word. Edging. And I'll trim it off. So it's basically like one of those quilts that frays a lot. That's what this ruffle will do. But I just thought it was cute. All right, so that's how you do a French seam, y'all. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye, Teresa. Have a great day.